Well, I want to point out something on the Chevy intake manifold, especially if you're in California. You got to put up with California emissions. Now, if you're 1975 and below, hey, no problem, right? That's magic year. So this is a 78 Chevy El Camino, Malibu, or whatever, a lot of different GMs. And I just sprayed this orange so you could see this real good, What happens is, what they're going to do, if you go to inspection in California, this is your EGR valve, right? It sits right up on here, 2 bolts, right there, 1, 2, and 2 bolts, and there's a gasket. What they'll do is they'll put their fingers underneath here and press in on this valve, right here, like this. See that? And what's supposed to happen is the engine's supposed to slow down. And you'll see, there's the exhaust, it opens up here, right? Well, and then it goes through the EGR valve, and it goes from one side to the other, and it's supposed to slow the engine down with exhaust gas recirculation, right? Well, you can replace this valve, or you can clean it out too, but that's 99% of the time. It's not the whole problem. It's part of the problem. This valve was extreme. I'm actually putting a blocking plate in it. I'm not in California, and I'm going to put HHO on it, so it's going to run pretty damn emissions low, right? But if you're in California, you can clean this out, and it might take you some chipping and stuff like that, as long as the valve isn't broken itself, where it's actuated with the vacuum, right? As long as the diaphragm in here is still good. A lot of times it just gets clogged up. This was clogged up so bad, this whole thing was filled in. It was like it was made out of carbon fiber. Now also, this was filled in and that was filled in, and it comes out those 2 holes there. That was completely clogged. Now, like, I'm not in California, but I'm familiar with this car was out in California, and I had to do this. I know the inspection guy, he'd lift this valve up, and you had to take your intake out, manifold off, and it's kind of a pain in the ass, to tell the truth, but you got to knock all this carbon out of here, get new gaskets and stuff, and also watch for a distributor gasket. I don't think there was a distributor gasket in this damn thing. The other one thing, too, this is your, I got a manual choke on here. This is for your automatic choke, and the way it works is there's a gasket in here, though. I'm gonna wind up just putting a high temperature RTV or something. I got a manual choke anyway, but this sits in here, and the temperature will cause, I think it's for the choke, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just an emissions requirement. I think it's for the choke, though. It's right where the choke is. The choke is right here on this side. This was all clogged up. This was completely clogged up. It took a lot of chiseling to get this loosened up, to get that out of there. So if this is all clogged up, this isn't going to work right. Your choke isn't going to work right either, because this is supposed to sit in the intake air temperature. It's not supposed to be like all carbonized attached to the intake manifold, so that's not going to work right either. So that's what happens, every once in a while you'll have to do this. So if you're in California, you got 76 on up, and those are still desirable because they're pre-computer cars. This is what you'll have to do to pass inspection. You'll have to you just can't change this EGR valve. Well, you can replace the whole manifold if you want to do that, but you got to make sure you get an EGR specific manifold, like it'll say right on there, EGR, right? This thing, I'm gonna probably wind up cleaning the hell out of it, because it's it was pretty damn grimy, man. This thing was dirty as all hell, but I figured I'd post this because it's not really something important to me, because I'm blocking off my EGR valve, and I got a manual choke. I don't have an automatic choke. But this will get clogged up. It's like petrified carbon fiber. It's not even like carbon. This stuff is strong. It's like you really got to knock it out there. I was tapping it out with a screwdriver and a hammer, and man, I just spent like, more than an hour, easy, probably an hour and a half, just getting all the carbon out of this crap. Just this. So if you take that to a mechanic, they're going to charge you a couple bucks for that garbage, man. You know what I mean? Unless they take the manifold off and boil it or something. Maybe that's what they would do. But, that'll cost you some money too. So either way. And more than likely, it's all labor except for buying new gaskets. And even with these gaskets, you put the RTV on, you make an RTV for the front and back. The gaskets usually aren't that much money for the intake manifold gaskets. You can usually reuse this. You can usually reuse the gaskets, or you could put high temperature RTV on there, which will work too. And, you wouldn't even have, more than likely, you don't have to buy an EGR valve, because all you got to do is if you put some vacuum on here and this thing goes up like this and this thing goes down, like that, it goes down like that, and with the vacuum, and it pulls down, as long as this thing is cleared out and it's got the junk out of there, which it is now, it's pretty clean, it'll allow the exhaust recirculation to go from, do the thing. But whatever. That's back in 1970s. Boy, I was saying, they're really screwing these cars up. In retrospect, they look great. They still look great compared to what's coming out, even what was coming out in the mid 80s and stuff. But if you're in California, this is what you're going to have to do, man. So, and also maybe some other states too. I think New Jersey hasn't. Well, I don't know how much they do that, because they might say it's an antique car and not look at it. But that's what you got to do. And no matter how much fuel cleaner you put in there and all this kind of garbage, the EGR valve is going to get, this passageway is going to get clogged up no matter what you do. There's no way around it. So, this is just something that's got to be done every once in a while. Anyway, over and out. Cooter's Garage. Yeah.